Um, so one of the things I wanted to go through, and please, I don't want to dictate to people. So anyone raise their hands if they can. I realized long ago that my whether from my temperament or my level of patience, I was probably not the world's best coach. I think I was maybe better than average college coach, but I was never going to be a pro coach or an international coach. And I wanted to go as far as I could with the game. And that my biggest contribution would be in the background to try to organize and lead. And it was something that I enjoyed. And one of the things that came out of that is like the bane of all clubs, which is recruitment, sponsors, how do you build club culture, and touring. So rather than cram everything into a slideshow, I do want to offer out to everyone. I'm easy to get hold of. In putting this presentation together, I actually remembered one youth club that I owe a whole bunch of questions about touring Ireland to. But going back to when I played for U.S. Super League, and even when I was in U.S. Juniors, I always was kind of the one to get everyone together. And just with that comes probably a book of really funny stories, but also comes some organizational experience. So some of the base questions, and I certainly don't want to dictate to anyone, but some of the base questions that I always tried to ask myself, and I got back involved with University of Mary Washington probably about 12 years ago, and I took over a club that was about, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 in debt, had no uniforms, and had about 17 guys. So one of the things that I asked myself, the same as I asked myself when I used to teach, one of the things we used to do, I taught sales training at Johnson & Johnson, was like empathy and, what was the customer faced with, and how would you be perceived, and what type of image did you portray? And some of the key questions I thought for any level club you should ask yourself immediately when you're talking about recruitment is not where do we find the recruits, but are we ready to receive them? Do we have a product that they want to see? And some of the key questions for a youth club would be, how would a parent outside of your club view you? And that's one of the things I see, and it's not to be picky, but lots of times I'll walk up on rugby fields of all ages that are challenged for recruits. And, it just doesn't present the image that they're coming from in soccer and lacrosse and football. We can all joke about that, but some of the things, and I will share my notes and my outline, because some of it's, it's probably not, I'm going to shut the door because some of it's probably not fair because we're all dealt with limited resources. But it's really helpful sometimes to ask yourself, if you're walking up on this field, what do you see? I mean, do the kids look like the Bad News Bears, or do they look like a well-dressed team? These are simple. There's plenty of gear manufacturers in the area. We even have some locally, like Wild Haggis and Steamroller. And one of the things I did after a while of learning how hard it was to recruit, one of the things I did at UMW was, you don't show up to the field unless you have the proper kit on, unless you're dressed like a team. And that was really hard to enforce at first. But I think once the students get into looking good, feeling good, it's very important to have across your club, and just like you would across the business, a common theme, a common color, because whether we admit it or not, for youth players, we're in competition with football, lacrosse, soccer, and all you got to do is look at your local soccer club, and they usually look a lot better than a rugby club, whether that's fair or not. It's one of those things that we have to consider when we're recruiting players. And that also kind of molds into, how does a student view themselves? How does a younger player view the team? Is it something that they can identify the club crest? Do they know what the club value statement is? Do they know what the club stands for? I'm a big believer. You go to these European clubs that have been around forever, that have a strong cadre of old boys, and what does the crest mean to them? What does it stand for? The other thing is, those two things also play into, how would a sponsor view your club? So if you plan on advancing sponsorships, it was no coincidence in the college game, we never got any sponsorship until we absolutely started looking like a team and acting like a team. And then what this comes into my next slide, and I just put here, I borrowed a lot of the content at UMW just because it's on my computer. I actually found a lot of references, like I found a lot of situations as I was looking around for this presentation today, where for a lot of teams that I work with, I could not find clean social media. I couldn't find a clean team picture, and I couldn't find anything of their crests that says who they are, what they are, and a clean view. Not all of them, but a lot of teams that I think very highly of. I think highly of them because I know the people and I work with them. I would not be able to get that same image from their social media. So I think we always got to look critically at the way others will see us and the way new recruits will see us. And these are the questions I was asking. So we got to the point with UMW where every year we were doing a very formal team picture, and anytime we put out team pictures, it would be this or some version of it. Here's an interesting slide, and Hope and I built this last year, and since then Old Glory's social media has doubled. We started looking at like, okay, where should we put our resources in the community? Who should we be focused on? And I put the top of the list right here. There's a lot of clubs that are pretty good clubs, but if I'm a sponsor, or if I'm a high school kid, if I'm a college kid, or if I'm someone looking to support something, if someone doesn't even have, like if all they have is a Facebook page that hasn't been updated in 2 months and it's hard to find their schedule, it's really hard to identify who they are and what they're all about. Now, if you look at this part of the slide down here in the lower right-hand corner, I really went out to the UMW guys and I said, look, well, you know, I've been gone for a year. You guys have actually backslid in the amount of social media. You guys are asking me to help you raise money. It looks like you're a club in decline. So I'm pretty proud to say when I checked today, they've made an all-out push. They're at, I can't read that number, but they're well over 2,000 in their Facebook likes. So one of the things that we always promise when we get into the sponsorship talk is we always promise that, you know, we're going to get 3,000 to 4,000 hits for anything we put out on social media to the sponsors. And that also includes, like we built into our budget as a club, a little $20 or $30 boost on Facebook to pump up those social media numbers when we put out a sponsor announcement or something dealing with sponsors. So I just think, again, it's not like Old Glory is not going to support all these teams, but it was kind of interesting when we looked. Some of the things that our owners were sponsoring or that we were sponsoring either had no social media, or the account, they didn't know who the owner was, or, you know, there was very few participants that were actively doing anything. Obviously, social media doesn't make your club, but it's a reality and it's not going away. So we might as well do it right. I'd like to see clean messaging on everyone's social media. You got to have fun, but Hope does a really good job with our Facebook account and our Instagram account and our Twitter at Old Glory of creating good media. So it's a hobby of mine. It's actually what I do for work, for sports marketing, for orthopedics. I'd be more than happy to help anyone if I can, and I'm sure Hope would be able to give you some tips as well. One of the things before we get way into sponsorship, and I know I'm jumping around, a lot of people talk about fundraising for clubs. You cannot beat, and I've done it all. I was the one that first started doing sponsorships way back in the early 90s when they had to be stitched on a shirt. You cannot beat t-shirts and pint glasses. If you say, I mean, I'll stick to it. I'm never trying anything else with a youth group. I know it's maybe a little bit different with a pro side or a semi-pro side, but I would recommend this up to men's clubs. If you shop around and you go for a simple quality t-shirt, you can get those one color with your logo on it, $4.75. You sell them for $20. You give the guys a mock-up with a graphic with it on, and you have them pre-sell them, and you have kids sell t-shirts in the fall, pint glasses in the spring. These are the true finances of doing this and doing it religiously. And it's funny, all the kids at UMW, I mean, I was always the bad guy. I'm making them do this, I'm making them do that. I've never heard them once mention it when they come back, that it was like painful. All they talk about is all the good things that this money produced. I mean, on a regular basis, just rolling off the back of pint glasses and t-shirts, the kids would get to go to New York. They'd go to South Carolina. We'd pay for all the kids that didn't have money to go to Ireland. If you think about that across your club, if you make that part of your culture, and we got in a good groove of that for quite a few years, every kid would sell two cases of pint glasses and 15 t-shirts, and there was zero risk for the ones that would pre-sell them. So, I mean, if you think across your club that you can produce, that's $4.29 of pure profit too. That's not out of pocket. You know, that is free and clear, $429. That's pretty powerful when you think about it, what you can do with that kind of money. And anyways, when I say fundraising, I just mean, and I'll give you, if anyone messages me, I'll give you the vendor names. There's plenty of vendors in Virginia that'll keep the t-shirt cost under $5 for a 100% cotton t-shirt, do all your screening. And there's a company right here in Tappahannock that provides pint glasses throughout North America that'll get your cost per pint glass actually down to about 74 cents per pint glass. And it's a $5 sale. It's easy. They practically sell themselves. They come in cases of 24. Just through trial and error, I've seen calendars, I've seen fancy t-shirts, I've seen dry fit t-shirts. I'm like, let's keep it simple and let's get that done. It will change the finances of your club if you do it religiously. Uniforms, sidelines, and coaches again. I started looking at soccer clubs today because they seem to just present a clean, crisp image whenever I'm bumping up against them on fields. And it was interesting to note that the best used soccer program nationwide apparently is in Baltimore and called the Baltimore Bays. And I found quite a few references to, these are our colors, everyone wears it, everyone looks the same. I'm a big believer in everyone on the team looks the same. I think we have to admit that we're in competition with other sports for recruits. And again, when you roll up to a practice and it looks disorganized and you don't see the club crest and you don't know what the club colors are, you know, I'm a big believer, and I think looking like a team is worth points on the board. I think the coaches should look exactly like the team, and I think included in the team dues should be kitting out the coaches. Very strong. I feel very strongly about that volunteers should be recognized. Think there should be a dress code on any coach. It helps with recruiting. It helps with sponsors. Have to stick to it strictly, and no one really complains about that once they get it on. Hasn't been an issue. That kind of rolls into recruiting, and I'm going to give this outline to everyone, but I really didn't want to say anyone's doing anything wrong or right. I just, again, it comes back to image, and I'll probably catch, you know, if this gets broadcast later, I'll catch hell for it. But what I see across the board is I see clubs having trouble scaling down to 7s productively and then scaling back up to 15s. And I really, truly believe recruiting also means keeping current members involved and bringing other members back. So I would like to see, and this is one of the suggestions that I think a lot of college conferences are going back to, having those classic weekends where you keep people involved and you have not every 15s match has to have your best forwards and your best backs. I think you got to recruit internally and keep everyone involved and play friendlies and play friendly cup competitions, but we can get into more of that later. I also think recruiting means keeping the good people involved. Have you invested in your coaches? In your budget, do you have in your budget built-in coach education? I mean, I was very proud that in college, we sent a coach to New Zealand. We covered every college coaching course. You know, doing things like that and investing in your coaches and in your administrators it's gold. I would ask, on a youth level, have you considered partnering with Police Athletic League or YMCA to tap into their membership? Have you gone around to the area soccer coaches, the area football coaches, and asked, soccer, lacrosse, and basketball and baseball, and said what kids maybe dropped out of your sport because of body type or body style? Is there anyone you think that would be a rugby player, like that rugged kid? And that was successful on both the university level And I've seen a lot of high school coaches being successful with that, forging those relationships with area coaches and finding the kids that maybe just didn't stick with it because, you know, let's be honest, I was a religious basketball player. My body type did not lend myself to playing basketball. I mean, like, insert joke here, but I was just not built to play basketball. And if rugby hadn't come along, I probably wouldn't have stayed as active at sport as I am. I would also, in the recruiting aspect, I would also offer up Old Glory. We will partner with you. We'll come out to the field. We'll do whatever you can. We are going to be opening up a free area inside of games where clubs can display for recruiting purposes. It costs nothing. So that's going to happen in the near future. We want to partner with you and grow your clubs. And again, recruiting gets back to social media. Don't be scared to do a $30 boost. I'm more than happy to help you with that. I do it for orthopedics weekly. You can set your targets to people who like football and are age 22 to 29. I mean, it's kind of cool when you do that and you see results. So I would encourage people to experiment and have everyone throw some money in the pot and use that for Facebook and Instagram marketing. You can also target people that simply like rugby union, and you'll pick up a lot of ex-college players. Same thing for youth. You can specifically target people that like youth football. And Facebook is almost wicked evil in that aspect, and that you can drill down inside of where they live, and you can hit 4,000 people who have selected youth football as a target. So if someone says they like youth football, the only way Facebook makes money is if they sell you that data and you can select it. So I'd recommend inside of your club, try to build $1,000 yearly recruiting budget aimed at Facebook. And it's the cleanest marketing you're going to get. I've been talking quite a bit now. Does anyone have any questions on what I've talked about so far, or any suggestions? Am I way off base?
Hey, Tim, I actually want to second that, the Facebook boost. But what I would add to that, doing the same thing for Loudon Youth Rugby, is that the images you're trying to boost have to be really, you said the word clean, have to be really clean and give a really good image of what you're trying to promote. You know, I see so many pictures get posted to Facebook from like a mile away of the little Johnny playing in the middle. You can't tell what's going on, which is why, you know, we make a concerted effort to use either a parent that has really good photography skills, and I work with them to create, you know, a database of pictures. Those are the pictures we use. Colin McCloskey is a great resource locally for a lot of us, and almost every single image that we put up, she took. And it makes a huge difference, at least with us. And so I second on the.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a fight. Rugby's in a fight. It's a winnable war, but it's a fight for kids that are less active. I'm shocked that colleges are giving out scholarships for esports, but I guess that's the way things go. And rugby has to have a cleaner, crisper, more professional image. So right here is, this is a slide that I altered that I would use for UMW, and I would roll into a business and I would get these, I would even go as far as creating a banner and having the guys hold it. It would cost like $30 when it would be on sale at Kinko's, of a business that I was recruiting. So we'd pack all the alums and players in and take a picture with that logo. But these are all real graphics that I would use in a presentation. And most of the gear sponsors, and again, I know Wild Haggis and Steamroller will do this locally. World Rugby Shop will do it for free. They will take your logo and load it on a uniform and show you what that sponsor will look like. It's pretty strong to roll into a presentation. And I'm more than happy to help anyone with that, with their logo already. It's called a presumptive sale, and some people might call it arrogant, but I'm like, look, we already did the artwork for you. This is what we'll give you one on your wall. I would be very careful also with, I'll tell you, it bothered me that we would develop a sponsor in the Fredericksburg area and then all the other teams would call on them. And I know from talking to sponsors, they hated that. So I would urge everyone in rugby not to call on the same people all the time. And the categories that I really like and some of these are common sense. Bars and restaurants, where can you give them a return on their dollar? And don't just take their money. Ask them, do you have a vendor that's looking to boost their product? And for the men's clubs, it'll be, we've got so-and-so has these incentive marketing funds. For a restaurant, it might be something as simple as a food vendor. Cisco was always a really good sponsor back in the day. Real estate, you got to be religious about promoting these people. A lot of them will get matching funds if they hit certain numbers in a quarter. Construction, can they get the word out? Auto sales, obviously, I don't think, Paul Sheehy's going to mind if you approach other auto dealers, although he does a whole heck of a lot to support rugby in the area. So, he will continue to sponsor, but also, it's really helpful for me when you guys are going to Sheehy for me to be able to say, look what so-and-so club did. Insurance agents, whether it be State Farm or a local one, often have a marketing budget. And if you guys are aggressive with them, they might have been given to the same Little League team for 20 years, and it's actually really easy to break those guys off. Banking and finance, mortgage lenders, underwriters, all that kind of stuff. They have independent marketing budgets. That all these people in this list, ask them if they have matching funds from their national marketing group. And that's when your website and your Facebook page gets really important, because they will check back. I've gotten feedback before on a stray picture or something like that when people are checking back on me on the college social media. Subscription services, cable and phone are usually good ones to get. Your local cable company. IT services of all types. Orthopedics and sports medicine. I've at one time or another, I think I've had half the orthopedic groups up and down I-95 support rugby. And then healthcare systems. How do you deliver? Keep in mind, healthcare systems make most of their money off elective surgery, radiology, and labs. Rugby is really rich for two of those. Hopefully they're not running too many labs on rugby players. Just Joey Tropia requires a lot of labs. But in general, healthcare systems like to make their money off radiology. They like to support sport. They want to see a good, clean message with their logo. And actually, I think I got, here's Mary Washington Healthcare in the lower right-hand corner. There's Radio Reconnaissance Technologies. That's a IT firm that does military contracting. And there's, in that picture, there's Hagerman Group, which is real estate. And she pulled all that money for that sponsorship in matching funds and then put some up herself. Linex was kind of a one-off. And I know I'm just blasting through these because I think we'll have hopefully a bunch of questions. Touring. I don't know how relevant this is moving forward, but there's always a lot of questions, and I owe a couple people. The thing I like about touring is it doesn't matter what happened in your fall league. It keeps everyone engaged through the spring. It does not need to be expensive. I have about had a heart attack when I see what some people are paying for tours. I think I've done 8 or 9 Ireland tours, and I started doing this back in the day when we did it via fax, and oh my God, what a pain in the butt. There's a lady that would collect 50 cents for every page in college, and I would fax it. But it taught me what people expected. I've done some domestic tours, but all my overseas tours have been to England or Ireland. And it's a long-term goal to keep people engaged. It's a way to bring old boys back in the club. And there's no losers on tour. Everyone wins. I mean, you even if you go overseas and get pasted, you've still accomplished something, and you've seen a different standard of play. I think every youth team and every adult team should have a tour planned every other year. I just think it's fantastic, and it keeps everyone engaged. At least that's what I've seen. I think a lot of this could, and I will put up my outline that I wrote, and I will also, I don't know if these slides are worth anything to anyone, but I'll put those up as well. I know I just blasted through that, and I know everyone's really tired after these long Zoom days where we're on Zoom all day long. I can't use this backdrop for my company, so I get to move into my rugby Zoom room here for this. But can I answer any questions for anyone? Is this hopefully this is helpful?
Hey, Tim, are you going to get any sort of actual numbers you expect? I mean, I'm really interested in your Ireland experiences.
Yeah, so we have never left anyone behind on an Ireland tour, and we've done plenty of them. The cost has never exceeded $1,300 for a full week. I do it myself. I would be more than happy to help anyone do it. We've had it as low as $1,050. And I'm sure someone's going to send me nasty message or something, because there are companies. I am absolutely shocked when people pay $2,400. Or I've seen prices higher than that. I saw an Ireland tour that was quoted out at $4,000. And when I mean I go on tour, I directly call the Pro 14 clubs. I'm able enough, even before I was working for Old Glory. I just tell them who I am, what I want to do. I want to do high performance. Literally, they'll suggest to me every time they'll go, we'll just throw them a couple dollars. So typically they'll come out and do a training session. And so all the UMW guys have done training sessions on Connacht's grounds for free. Last time I think we got a tour, we did a training session. I can't, they all blend together, honestly. We've done Munster, Connacht, and Leinster. And I think the most we've ever paid for anything, we got a tour of Aviva for like $12 a kid. And then typically we'll throw the coaches $100 or $200 for a 2-3 hour training session. And it's never been a problem getting community clubs. I was told long ago that I would never be able to get clubs to play us. You have to fill out the touring permission form on both sides. But the way you keep the cost down is you negotiate the hostel or the group arrangement, and it's just never been it's never been a problem. I did one for Fort Hunt last year. So if you go to Fort Hunt's Facebook page, those guys don't put a whole lot on Facebook. So if you go look at Fort Hunt Rugby Club's Facebook page, you can see all the pictures from the Ireland tour last year. And it was one of the most thoroughly enjoyable weeks I've ever had. I really enjoyed it. Got a lot of culture, and really my motto, and I'm sure it's for women's teams too, is good boys are busy boys. Mm-hmm. So we pack that schedule full of as much stuff as we can.
Hey, so Tim, it sounds like you're doing a lot of hands-on stuff here. Are you using any sort of touring companies to help?
Absolutely not. Not a bit. I have never, that's what I was saying. We just couldn't afford it. And it's gotten easier every time. If you have a mom or a dad that in your club, first of all, my role loosely interpreted with Old Glory is to grow rugby, right? So I'm here to help anyone. And that's why I said that it's probably not, the tour companies probably don't love me for saying this, but I'm here to help anyone. And if you have a mom or dad that's involved, it's easy. It's not hard, but that's where the price jumps astronomically. I mean, I'm keeping the costs really low of touring. So I negotiated directly. The travel agent went to Aer Lingus. We negotiated directly. Everything, literally everywhere you call in Ireland or England, if you tell them you have a group, they'll give you the student rate. So they gave everyone the student rate. So touring has been very affordable. By contrast, when we were playing in the D1AA final in Los Angeles, it cost way more per day to stay domestically than it did to go to Fullerton, California. So it was much more expensive to travel to California than it was to Ireland per day and for travel, if that makes sense. And again, I would be more than willing to do one-off with anyone if they want to talk about sponsorships. I'm willing to actually, I got chattering away here. I wanted to show you, let me see if I can figure out how to do this, Ken. I want to show you my kind of value added proposition. So I decided I kept answering questions nonstop about when we were really rolling with UMW. I kept answering the same questions over and over again for both sponsors and recruits. So what I finally decided to do, I was like, look, I gotta tell this story here. Let me see if I can figure out how to maximize this. I always forget how to do this. Here we go. So I decided I had to tell the story. I said, what are we all about? What makes us tick? And this worked for about I got to update it for the kids now because I can't find the template. So I wanted to talk about, like, if you're coming here, we had a kid come from Texas. What about us? Like, I remember when I made this, his big question was, will you do anything with pro rugby? And I was like, heck yeah, we will. I mean, first of all, why wouldn't we? What's our history? Where are we going? So I just decided to put everything I can and to build this. So why would you come here? Like, why would a kid play rugby for instance, Loudon Rugby? Or why would a player play for Nova? Or why would they play for anyone? Talk about the rugby culture. Who do we play? Like these are all questions that people act like they're listening to you and they're doing active listening. But I'm still a big believer in leaving behind pictures and videos. What does a typical week look like? Where does the team play? What's the school about? Like, I realize that this may not be applicable to everyone that's on this call, but I think everyone has enough talent and enough ingenuity to create a document like this that tells their story. And I probably got more sponsorship dollars from this just because it gave them the sense of, wow, this is something real, like this is bigger than this guy just talking to me. This is a professional outfit that wants to partner with us. And in a sense, my job at Old Glory has been easy because we have Hope, who puts out tremendous materials, and we have John Manson, who's super organized. So, but you got to have people like this in your organization to take it to the next level, and they're there. And if it's as simple as giving someone the resources to do it, I'd encourage you to invest in the people in your organization. Would that document, if I did that like open source, would that be helpful for anyone? They can plug in your own pictures.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, we need to do that like now while we have some time on our hands. So if you could did you say you have this, the original, what is it, the PDF, or is it?
I do, and if I don't, I'll build it for I don't mind building it for someone. I mean, I have all this stuff. Here's another one as far as building the club. Like, we were getting run ragged when we were doing big games every weekend. So I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. It's killing me. So this game prep document, man, we lived off this thing for like 2 years. And it was, I can't tell you how nice it was to have a high school coach show up and go, this is the most organized program I've ever seen. So it reflected well on me. It reflected well on the program. But this would go out on Monday, and it was like, I can give this to anyone if you want it. It was like, hey, kids, there's going to be there was really consequences. But if you look at this, our game was on Saturday, and on Sunday, the cycle started of getting ready for next week. And I'll tell you, when the team was on this schedule, everything ran well. Parents were happy. Alums were happy. I'm more than happy to provide this. Would this be helpful for anyone?
Tim, this is Michelle. This form is genius. I would love it.
I'll tell you right now, Tim, I would hand this out to, when I do the training for the level 200 courses. This is great because we actually talk about things, but learning to be a coach, these are the things that you need to learn or you need to know. So I want to, if you don't mind, I'm going to steal this and
sure,
give it out as like a Word doc file to all my feature level 200 participants.
Well, one of the things that sprang off of this too was, I'm like, look, guys, the stuff you're doing here, this is resume building stuff. Like, do you want me to do it and I'm eventually going to get ground to dust? Do you want the coach to do it and he'll be miserable? Or do you guys want to do it? And that way, when we sit down, you own it, you know it's right. I said, if I disappear tomorrow, you guys are in trouble. So this list kind of evolved, and I let the kids give input on it. The head coach gave input. And, you know, even on Tuesday, Ken, you'll notice, notify referee if home and verify kickoff times.
I do appreciate
So it's my pet peeve when you show up at the field and the balls don't have air in them. I mean, like, so just stuff like this, but this, and then this all rolls into marketing the club. And like when someone shows up to training, it just has that look and feel of something that's next level and that it's bigger than the guys that are doing it. So I will make all of this stuff available on a Google Docs file and share it. And I'll try to find the originals, but you know, I copy a lot of people. I learn from people all the time. Like all my orthopedics marketing, I steal from all over the country in the world. But that's, you know, it's not borrowing a template, it's borrowing an idea, and I'm more than happy to give you my templates. So anything else I can help with, I mean, it's really my job. I'm here to help. And I really enjoy what I'm doing with Old Glory. It's sometimes I feel like I get distracted from helping you guys, but we'll get back to it.
I have something to share, just something silly with jerseys. You know, with the new sublimated jerseys, there's no extra cost to put on a logo. So when I had the team at Coolidge, I was reaching out to people, you know, selling the front of the jersey for, you know, $5,000, the back for $2,500. I'm at work and I'm on the phone and trying to get money. My coworker's like, I'll give you $100 to put my name on your jersey. Like, they can put a name anywhere. So he gave me $100 and his buddy gave me $100, and I put Andy and Tom's name on the sleeve of the jersey. So there's some silly stuff you can do without, you know, without formally approaching a sponsor. Just get some knucklehead to give you $100 to put their name on.
And he makes a good point. The sublimated is the strat. We were hitting, when we were really rolling, we were hitting 30 grand a year, 35 grand a year at UMW. And I don't mind telling you, the program ran off sponsorships. I mean, it's a good point, Brian. It costs the same whether you have one logo or 4 or 5. So, yeah, that's a great point.
Hey, Tim, can you just talk about what your day-to-day role is? Like what's a typical day or week for you?
Sure.
Clubs.
Right. When we get back on the field, it'll be, of course, out visiting teams. And, you know, we want everyone coming to games. We want them. I will tell you, Andrew and John, the aura, it's for me to support them. But I also feel really good about sending people in because I think they're going to be in an environment. So it's number one, it's to support the pro team. Number two, it's community, getting out there, supporting you guys in everything that you're doing. And, you know, I learn something every day, and to share best practice. The one I'm deeply involved in right now, and I like my eyes are falling out of my head, is player pathway. So I'm going through about 325 draft files and calling all over the country. I've probably talked to 130, 140 college coaches. And my feeling is, if someone takes the time to fill out that big spreadsheet, a kid, I'm going to track it down to the ends of the earth so that I don't want to be the guy that misses the next Dan Lyle. That's like, you know, kind of like a guy that just started playing rugby and is just learning the game. I don't want to miss the next Paul Emmerich or any of these guys. So I'm very deep in that. I'm trying to give Andrew as much information as I can so that he can make an educated decision. And even if I don't, I want to have a list of the top 50 guys, and I want to get them here to help the men's clubs. And I've already started reaching out to the D1 men's clubs. You know, I'm very deep in that right now, Ken. That's like 12 hours a day, and it's it's kind of funny. Like, I feel like one day I'll be able to write a book about it, because everyone tells you how great their kid is. And it's awesome when someone tells me, like, I've got a surefire pro. And I watch the video and the kid's like totally out of breath in the first 30 seconds. Like, he's just dying. To remain unnamed, I sent a video to Andrew and John the other day, where this coach was like, man, I've got two guys and I just can't decide which one's better. And both of them, and again, maybe they've never been told, but I think rugby is a miserable game when you're way out of shape. Both of them were so far out of shape and so far out of position in every play. They did deliver some big hits, but that all ended in the first 12 minutes. And it was like, so, I mean, I'm doing a lot of that right now. I'm watching a lot of tape. When the season gets started, I'm kind of really involved in game day, making sure everyone has a good time and making sure everything's organized. I'm kind of the catch-all guy. Like, I've done a lot of sponsorships, and just whatever I can do to support the pro players.
Can you give us any updates on your current roster, or how the players are doing? What are they doing to keep themselves trained up?
We're going to do a couple videos at Safe Social Distance this week, to a little training series to give people, little, and I'll credit Ken with this, little 2-3 minute clips to show people the correct way to do skills, hopefully something fun. The domestic guys, I stay in touch with them. Some of them are starting to jockey around. Some of the internationals I just talked to on Facebook, but I think everyone's kind of just holding tight and staying in shape. I've been really impressed with some of the stuff Danny Tusitala has put out. Like, that guy's just high energy. I actually had a great talk with Mo Katz, who is on our squad today, about supporting his college program. So, in the fall, we plan on doing a college tour, getting around to the different universities. And there will be some type of advanced training series where people can work with our coaches and our staff on a bi-weekly basis in the fall. So we want to make that super affordable and very low cost, and just make it an open door to everyone in the community.
Hey, Tim, I have a question request. We are working on, we did a new website, and one of the things we're talking about doing is like a coaching blog or something, where we're going to have like a little place on the website. Obviously, we're not playing right now, so we just want something for just to keep people engaged. Is it possible to have, Old Glory guys maybe do a 5-minute video of just some rugby skills, what people can do during the lockdown, just to keep fit, keep their skills up, something that a kid can do by themselves or whatnot?
We're actually filming some of those tomorrow morning. So
awesome.
Please text me if you have suggestions, and if they're not on the list already, we'll put them in there.
I've got no suggestions to stay fit and improve skills.
Well, you'll be happy to know it won't be me doing the skills. So it'll probably be done correctly. And
maybe awesome if every club can upload that to their own website, or for their own engagement of their families. Like, so while we're not playing, that each club, hey, stay engaged, go to our website to see this, just so we can all share.
Hey, Brian, that's exactly the point behind the videos. And the smaller group of admin, we came up with this list over a month ago. But I've been taking feedback from other coaches. So in the chat room tonight, if you guys have any suggestions, please put in the chat room. I'll copy and paste, and I'll send it over to Coach Andrew, as I believe he's running that session tomorrow. So please do that if you guys think of anything. I'll make sure that it's passed on to the coaching staff, and hopefully they'll be able to do it. And what I've been told, they're going to be like 2-3 minute videos of individual skill drills that our players can do, possibly in the backyards of their homes.
Perfect. Thanks.
And and again, I do want to offer to talk to anyone one-off. I know how skilled some of you guys are, or really how I'm always impressed. I really wanted to do this, so I wasn't talking down, but I didn't want to skip anyone. But I do want to say it's an open door. If I can help you put emphasis on what you're doing, if I can help you, if I can help sell a sponsor, you know, whatever I can do to help you. I've never had any, you know, anywhere I've been before Old Glory, I've never had any resources. We did not have, at a state school, or even with when I was doing the college select side, I was running that for a couple of years. It was always on a super limited budget. So I always am kind of looking over my shoulder, worried I'm going to run out of money. And, you know, it's you wouldn't know it, but that t-shirt and pint glass tip is the best thing I have. I mean, it's, make it part of your culture and you'll never run out of money. It's amazing. Cause they're winners. And, please clean up the social media. I know even though if it's nondescript, it gets people excited. People want to see their name in print. It's human nature. Post your scores, post your schedule, spend 10 minutes a day to keep your social media looking good.
Hey, Tim, I've got a quick sponsorship question for you. Kind of with your experience at the uni level, a big thing overseas I've noticed is they do like networking as a value added to sponsors for players. Do you think there's kind of enough of understanding of the rugby culture that's really a value added, or just athletic culture here in the United States to sell that?
You know what? It's a really good question. I think networking is a big deal for the people in the DC area. I think that would be really hard to sell in some areas, although social media can account for everything. I don't know. I'd love to talk to you about that and flesh it out. I really can't. I think it's recruiting value, definitely the ability to network. I know that's been one of our selling points of Old Glory, and it was certainly a selling point when I was at university, because we're in the shadow of DC. I have continually made sure that all the students I work with got to the embassy events and got to interact with businesses. It seems to be a big selling point for students coming into a university. Whether they take advantage of it once they get there is another thing. It's always frustrating when you're sending something out and the kids don't really want to go. But I would think that would be a major selling point for a university student in uncertain times, to have an instant family that they can network with. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Do you have any opinions on like the sponsor side and the value added there? Or do you think I don't know if the rugby culture identity is strong enough over here to...
I've had sponsors of the club immediately hire students because they know them, particularly the real estate sponsors. In all fairness, it's just making that introduction, because quite honestly, I feel like the universities I've been associated with in Virginia, and those on both select side, those are like Virginia Tech, JMU, Mary Washington, ODU, to a point UVA. I've had those kids. I feel like there's such quality kids getting out just making the introduction. So if that comes through rugby, yeah, I think there's value in that. I think they're the right type of recruits. I think everyone wants to hire athletes, and the more professional the professional halo we can put around rugby, the better.
Thanks, that's really good.
I appreciate, and I look forward, just message me. I appreciate y'all's time. I do. It's been nice to see everyone engaged on these calls. And I thought, if you haven't seen the previous ones, please watch them. Andrew did a bang up job, going through how I've been very impressed just sitting in the back of the room, watching how he has the attention of 30 players, because he's sharing very good info. I think next week we're going to have John Manson on. I believe that's what the topic is, and he's going to talk about club culture at Glasgow and how they built that. One of these weeks he is into a winning Pro 14 champion side.
Just because that's a lot of people have asked me about the video from last Monday. It doesn't exist, and that is entirely my fault. I forgot to hit record again because I paused it. I didn't re-record it. So my fault, but I'm going to try to work with Coach Andrew, see if we can get something for everybody on planning your defensive strategy based on video analysis. So again, my apologies for forgetting to hit record last week.
That sounds good, Ken. Unless anyone has any questions, we're bumping right up against an hour. And I'm more than happy to answer questions anytime.
Hey, Tim, it's Michelle for a closeout comment, and this has been great. Michelle France. Have you guys thought about doing some merchandising around our new need for face masks with the Old Glory is with you, with your logo across it? Because I think that I know a bunch of people would be glad to wear an Old Glory mask.
We have, and I will run that by them one time again. And we've been approached by different people. I'll be honest with you. I think putting out anything with our endorsement on it that's a life-protecting device is maybe not where we want to be. But I would, for me, I worked in medical devices and medical supplies for years. I would have to know the product inside out, and it would have to be a name brand manufacturer for me to say, hey, I think that's good. But that's up to the owners. But I'll bring it up again. I wish we had them. I'd probably have one, but
Governor Hogan is rocking the Maryland flag.
I know. I saw that. I'll ask. It can't hurt. More than happy to ask. I appreciate it, everyone.
Tim, just Alex raised a point in the private chat around club requests and schedules and engagements, and if OG, if we can extend to do this, and then the way to do that, Alex, is in off season, just email Tim, and if myself or one of the coaches can get out there and help or answer questions for you, we're happy to get to trainings. In terms of that area, it's, if we've got time, we'll travel as far as we can to help the community out. In season, it's obviously a little bit more difficult to get to trainings and people's events, but as much as we can, we'd love to engage the community. So Tim will just negotiate with John Manson, who will work on our schedule for me. If we can get to clubs and to organisations and help in any way, we can do that. So hopefully, Alex, that answers that question around that.
It does. Thanks, Coach.
We've also planned to take John and Andrew on an Appalachian tour from the top to bottom of bluegrass country and spread the word of rugby. So they haven't really seen American culture yet until we get them into the foothills.
So don't be shy, Alex, in asking us. I mean, I think we haven't had many clubs actually ask us to trainings at all. So we're more than happy to jump out and come to trainings we can.
It's the big barrier, obviously, Alex, is getting them up and down 95 on a weeknight, but we can do it.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, guys. We're 2 minutes to 8 o'clock. I've been working with Hope with OG to set up possibly some future training events so they're available to watch Facebook Live. I think that might be session by session decision. But just so I know that some of you requested that we be able to share this with the public, which I think is a great idea. Just so you know, we're working on that. Technically, it's not as easy as it sounds, but we are working on that.
Awesome. Thank you all for doing this. This is great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and pause recording here, guys. We'll have this available to watch at any point. Thanks, Tim, for all the efforts. And I believe there's a place on our Facebook page where we can save docs. So maybe, Tim, that's a place where we can make it for everybody. And I like the idea of putting everything in a Google Drive.
Yep, I'll share all of it in one way or another, and I'm going to try to find the original documents, but please copy anything you like. I mean, that's not important if you copy anything. I'm more than happy to share.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll go ahead and end the session.
Thank you.